Good afternoon and welcome to UMED TV. My name is Kemal Erkan. I'm the chairman of United Medical ACO and CEO of United Medical. This is our weekly event, and as usual, we go through some of our revenue cycle management updates and also clinical presentations, as well as we discuss global issues, US economy, and also healthcare news. And just recently, we started a political series for Delaware for election year 2024. And our first guest last year was Colin Davis, who is challenging, one of the challengers for the Congress. And we'll continue those sessions with other confirmed guests. Next week, we are going to have Matt Meyer, who is the Newcastle County executive running for governor race for Delaware, and he will be joining us next week. Now, today is the turn. Today's turn is for the RCM, so we are going to have two of our client managers going to join me, and I want them to just turn their cameras on. So Dora, Beasley, and John Rocco, JR, we call him. So they are two of our payment posting client managers on the RCM team. As you guys are familiar with the format now, that part of the some of our sessions, some of our episodes, we use it for employee education and also for client communication. So this would be the part that we are going to do with JR and Dora. So I'm going to let them give access, both of whom first introduce themselves, and then they can actually start the session from their side.
Hello, everyone. This is John Rocco. I've been with United Medical since September 2013. I started as a payment poster, team lead, and then a client manager. Very happy to be here as part of the RCM team. Although I must say I'm a little nervous to follow the state treasurer last week. So I'll do my best.
Hello, my name is Dora Beasley, also a client manager here at United Medical. I have been with United Medical since December of 2014, coming up on 9 years. And I started as just a payment poster as well, worked my way up to client manager, and I'm also very happy to be here and very nervous as well.
Remember, I started as a payment poster as well, so it's a good start. So I think you'll be fine. So let's go ahead and start with the presentation.
I am unmuted and you guys can see my screen, correct? Okay, excellent. So in front of me are the core responsibilities of our payment posting department. Let's go down the list, starting with the lockbox and correspondence. We'll be going into further detail with these later on. But lockbox and correspondences are, a lot of these are very straightforward. So lockbox will be a mail that holds all the incoming EOBs, letters, different patient statements, and it's processed by the provider's bank account. The correspondences are non-payment items, and our payment posters will retrieve the, there's different ways to retrieve this information, but this is going to be the first part of your day as a payment poster, is to retrieve all of this information from the several websites and portals that we use. Bank reconciliation is actually the next slide, but this process involves working directly with the provider's bank account. The electronic posting workflow is the majority of our workload, And in this age, everything that we do is electronic. And we use two systems, which is SPM and CPM. And we'll get into that again. Manual posting is when I started, it was still a big part of our workflow, but this is where we key in data manually. And then service requests is a workflow that we use to communicate with the provider and several of our RCM coworkers. Let's go to the next one. All right. The reconciliation process. So what is this? My slide says this is the process of matching the balances in the practice management system to the corresponding information in the bank account. So what does this mean? Well, our team, when we have access to United Medical Clinic's bank account, our workflow is to go into the daily deposits. We'll download the days and the previous day's statements to make sure that we have all the deposits. We'll save that file and upload it into our QuickBase portal. And what this does is it creates a work queue for our team. In this case, if we have a Medicare check for today, it'll be on QuickBase and we'll see whether or not it's been posted, or if we're missing an EOB for it. If we have any system issues from Medicare, we'll make note that Medicare is delayed. Also, if somebody is not in the office for that day, we can reroute that work queue to another person in our team. So when we upload this into QuickBase, this will result in a confirmation log for the provider's accounting team. So at the end of the month, we can send the entire deposit log for the month of July to our providers and say, we posted this much electronically, we posted X amount manually. If there's anything missing, we'll be able to account for that difference once we run the practice summary reports. I did go over this one, ability to redistribute volume. I skipped this one, reporting for unposted EFTs. Again, if there's a delay, we'll be able to see that and have an alert go out to our team. There's also this fourth bullet that says anticipating check deposits from electronic remits. So one of the best things I like about the reconciliation process is if we're getting money and not receiving that information to our clearinghouse, we'll be able to say that this needs an electronic remittance advice enrollment, or we need to go to the payer portal. We'll need to go into United Healthcare, take this information and key it in. And then providers like this last one, it's a financial safety net for separation of duties. So that means when we have bank reconciliation, there'll be other employees in charge of different parts of the financial process or the revenue cycle process. So for example, Dora and I will route the incoming money into Blue Cross, for example, instead of Blue Cross sending the check to the provider's office, where there could be, several hands that could get in the way of that check being cashed. Okay, let's go into the electronic posting workflow. So now that we understand where our daily workflow goes, let's look at the electronic posting, and it starts at the doctor's office. When I see Dr. Valencia, we'll have my charges entered in SPM. We'll go through the United Medical System verification, and then I have my claim sent out to the insurance. So the part where Dora and I come in are the established connection with the clearinghouse and the insurance. So in our ERA and EFT, so electronic remittances and electronic funds transfer, if we have that established with the payer and the clearinghouse, then that means they'll send it back to us electronically. Okay, and then from there, the claim will be accepted. They'll generate an 835 file, and then our team will go in to SPM and process those remits. There's the rest of the RCM workflow. If there's any patient responsibility, of course, the patient will receive a statement. If they have a secondary insurance, it'll go to the secondary payer. If there's anything that's denied or partially paid, our accounts receivable team will work these claims, send it back to the insurances, and then the process will start over right here with the insurance and clearinghouse connection. More into the electronic posting workflow. We did mention that our ERAs, our 835 files, are received through the electronic data interchange. So at the end of the previous slide, we did mention that this impacts the other forms of the RCM cycle. So accounts receivable will work those denials. Our claims team will send out the claims, and then our statements will go out to the patients. And what else? Payment posters will process non-payments. So your deductibles, your zero pays, your capitation will be processed by us. We're in charge of entering the COB information, which is the coordination of benefits. We'll process any online patient payments as well. And then using our 7-day posting report, we're able to monitor the activity for each day's electronic posting. All right. So back into our other workflow, our manual posting workflow. It's the same thing. I'll go to the provider's office. They'll see if I have insurance, and then a claim will go out. So the difference here is if the payer and the clearinghouse do not have that relationship where the provider has permission for the payer to send back the claim electronically, then we can still send them out through Trizetto, but the way they'll come back to us is through a manual EOB. And manual is just a blanket term. There's several ways we can receive this, which we will go over again. But once we receive this information, we'll key it in through SPM, and then it's the same thing. Any patient responsibilities here will go out to the patient's statements, and then our team will upload any PDF files that we scan in and archive to the EOB workflow portal. Okay, and then our accounts receivable team will also handle any denied or partially paid claims. More into manual posting. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, we have an electronic lockbox, which is highly recommended for practices with high volume. An electronic lockbox usually contains a PO box, so your smaller insurances will mail in everything through one address. It relieves the provider's office of a lot of paperwork. Usually with an electronic lockbox, if you have this service, they will scan all your data for you. So not only will they deposit any patient payments that are mailed in via check, they'll take your EOB, scan it, and then upload it to your bank's portal. From there, you'll have a digital archive of everything that's mailed into you. How do we manage the manual posting? Well, we have a 7-day manual posting report as well. Our manuals consist of things that we physically receive in the mail, things that are faxed from our providers' offices, our Cerner secure file transfer portal, service requests between the providers' offices, our accounts receivable team following up on claims and providing us with that EOB. And then, of course, when we see things from our provider's bank account, we go ahead and retrieve the EOB from these several portals, and that's how we post those manual payments as well. Okay, so I think this is my last slide. So Dora, you can go ahead from here.
Thank you, JR. So what you're going to see populate here on the screen are examples of different payer sites that we will utilize on a regular basis to retrieve different EOBs and documents that we need to process payments, or that the accounts receivable team will need to review denials and such. So what you see mostly on the screen are payer hubs that the insurances use to keep all of their payments in one place. For example, Echo, they house payers such as Health Options, AmeriHealth Caritas, Meritain, and many more. So that's just a quick example there. Moving on to Trizetto. So just a little background on what Trizetto is. It's our clearinghouse, so that's what we use to send and receive remittances and claims from the insurances that the providers bill. So it provides us with detailed provider analysis, and it communicates payer delays as well. This comes in handy when we're having issues identifying why we haven't received a specific payer in a certain amount of time. For instance, maybe we haven't received any Cigna remits for the past 2 weeks. We can go into Trizetto, and generally there's a message just letting us know that this payer ID is delayed, and we're working on resolving that. In connection with Trizetto, JR and myself utilize the site STEM to initiate payer enrollments that will allow Trizetto to translate the 835 files and the 837 files, which are the claims and the remittances, into our EMR system. So reporting is also a really important part of our workflow and the responsibilities that we have in the payment posting department. We're responsible for running and entering the financial reports for our client invoicing. This includes the practice summary report for SPM. We also are responsible for verifying capitation and incentive payments, and just to make sure that they're posted accurately and documented in our system as well. We also run the accounts receivable reports, so that includes the age receivable manual entry, which that's the outstanding balances during specific timeframes throughout the client's history. And then we also are responsible for entering the average 6-month charge totals, which then will calculate the days in AR for each client. Just some more on the reporting aspect. This is more internal on what we utilize in our department. So we run reports to verify that the pairs are being created in the clearinghouse appropriately. That's that ERA/EFT verification process. We also run the mid-month comparison report. This pulls the totals for the client for the first 15 days of the month and compares them to the previous first 15 days of the previous month. And in addition, we also run the payment and adjustment codes, which reviews the number of line items worked by each payment poster. We also review our documentation drives in our share drive to assure that all of the files are received from the clients and that they're stored and worked properly. And lastly, we're responsible for not only downloading, but also merging and uploading the reports retrieved for our end of month procedures. And that's going to include the reports that we discussed in the previous slide, age receivables, practice summary reports. Okay. So we have our benchmarks here. These are our department benchmarks specifically. So our productivity metrics consist of our productivity. So the dollar amount of payments that each payment poster is posting on a daily basis and on a monthly basis. We have the payments per hour. This is going to take those payments and it's going to divide them by the hours that the payment poster has worked. And that's going to give us what we expect the hourly posting rate to be for each payment poster. So basically like the baseline. We have the productivity standard, or the baseline for our productivity is about 800,000, and it's determined by the level of the employee. So if they're full-time, tenured employees, you know, we want to make sure that they reach that threshold of 800,000. The payments per hour is tracked by the hourly production for each team member by taking their production total, like I said, and then dividing that by the number of hours that they worked. And then we have the payment and adjustment codes. That's the number of line items that each individual will post. And that volume is determined by the total number of individuals. So we take into account the number of employees that we have, and take the overall volume of the department, and that's how we will determine, you know, how much each individual person should be working on a regular basis. Again, payment posting, the payment and adjustment codes, that's just another metric that we use to maintain a balanced workload for each person in our department. And then of course we have quality. Making sure that everything is done accurately is really important. The health of the client is what is most important. And by making sure that our department is processing everything correctly, we're maintaining the health of the client overall. So JR and I will conduct routine quality checks using many different workflows throughout our department. And we expect for each individual to meet a 90% or better. And that's all.
Thank you guys. So now, obviously, what you presented is extremely important in our workflow, part of the RCM. As I said, I was one of my first responsibilities, which I did almost for 18 months or so, a little bit different than the way that you guys did. So because we were still utilizing a DOS-based system. You guys know what DOS is? Like, you are still, like, you are not the Gen Z, right? If the Gen Z is watching, which I have a room, I don't know why his camera is off, but Sean probably may not know what DOS system, or hasn't seen it, or has not worked in one of them. So as part of my responsibility from the client, from the payment posting, closing the end of month. So that used to be like almost like a 2-day, 18 to 20 hour work. So this is year 2000 and early 2001. We went live with TDS that time in 2001. And we used the old system until end of 2002. So every time you have to close the old system, they close a month, and there were only 2 clients in it, Delaware Cardiovascular and Hospitals of Delaware. And you have to watch just like almost like a babysitter. So if the server goes down, you have to start the process again. Now the problem is you have to set the date on a Friday, because it has to be almost like a weekend task, because everything needs, like, by the time you are done, until you are done, they cannot actually enter new transactions. So then if you didn't close the month, no one would be able to work. So that was not 100 years ago, it's about 23 years ago. So now it's a lot more efficient. It used to take, I used to have a payment poster working with me. I was really fast, but for Medicare EOB, I would spend about 45 minutes. It's like 13, 14 pages from Delaware Cardiovascular. That lady, God bless her heart, but she would spend about 2.5 hours to finish one EOB, and I would still go and help her because she couldn't reconcile the end of it. So that she would always make some mistakes. So you have to go one by one to find where the mistake was. So it was extremely challenging. Now with electronic posting, that challenge is done, but we have other challenges. Getting paid right, getting the payments posted at the right time in a timely manner. Those are all important part of it. And as Just unlike any other business, healthcare providers do not get paid at the time of service. And when we get paid, if it's not processed correctly, then we won't have the proper collection flow. For example, if the patient didn't pay copay until the payment posting is completed, we won't know that happened or that didn't happen. If there are co-insurances, if this payment is not posted correctly, Medicare pays only 80% of the allowable, that 20%, which we don't have 20% profit margin in the primary care or the specialist offices. So then if you miss that 20%, if it's not posted correctly, then you miss out on that 20% collection. A lot of insurances, as you know, they have much higher deductibles than it used to be in the past. So then again, if the payment is not dropped to the patient, then you are going to have collection issues, therefore financial issues for those practices. From that point in the RCM cycle, in the revenue cycle, what you do is extremely important, and also we want our clients to understand and our employees to learn from each department what they do and how they do it. And this was a really nice presentation. Thank you for that. Anything you would like to add before we close this part?
For me, when I started in 2013, it was sort of the same process because I was there when we started working with BOS clients. So at that time, the struggle was we couldn't get enough people to do the work because there was so much paper. So more on the struggle now, it's about security and getting access to these several portals that we utilize so that we can get the money on time. We can get it sooner to the provider. We can get the end of month bank statements to match with what the payer is actually sending them.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. So I'm sure you'll be back again. But it's always good to have you guys and you guys participate in this. And knowing that we are also utilizing this as a training, additional training resource. It's really good to have these kind of sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, Kemal.
Thank you.